Hey there, so I want to talk about what is next for Resident Evil and what I think the Resident Evil franchise will be heading to next. What is it that I think Capcom might want to do next with it, and I also want to talk about my review, my thoughts on the Shadows of Rose DLC or Ethan's Winter expansion, about her story and her gameplay. So, those are the two or three things that I want to talk about. So, where do I think Resident Evil is heading towards, and what do I think we will see in the future? Well, after this Shadows of Rose DLC gameplay and her story, for me, I think and feel and see like as if Capcom is taking Resident Evil towards a direction of supernatural and dark fantasy, and that is something that is a little bit different. That is what I'm thinking and feeling that Resident Evil and Capcom is heading towards. So I know a lot of people might not like that or maybe not care. For me, I'm kind of like skeptical about it. I kind of like don't really like it, but then again, like I understand. I would understand why if Capcom would want Resident Evil to go towards this direction. It's like they don't want to tell the same story over and over again, you know what I mean? All the Resident Evil stories that we had, it's like they just always been about outbreak, always been about like, oh hey, there's an incident happens, send Chris and Leon there, next thing you know, there's a terrorist group trying to steal this, or Ada pops up trying to steal this sample and sell it to the highest bidder. All that same stuff that we've been seeing a lot. And Resident Evil, they've always been trying to change it up. Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil 2 and 3, they've all been a little bit different from one another. Even though if they are, about the T virus, G virus, and about, Umbrella is this one big company that's, doing these, producing these like, biomass illegal weapon thing that's, dangerous, that could ruin the world. Like they've done that a lot, so I think I can understand and see why Capcom's heading towards like a different direction. They don't want to do like the zombie outbreak over and over and over again. I hope I'm making sense with this. So, and like I said, back to what I was saying, like they're always trying to change it up and make it different and make it better. So like Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, they're a little bit different from one another, and especially when you go from 3 to Resident Evil 4, that's something different. It's like it's not zombies anymore, and then you go into the Resident Evil 7 and 8, that's also something different. It feels much more like an indie horror kind of, but still AAA game. So I'm really like, in a way, feeling like I don't like it, but at the same time it's cool, but at the same time maybe it's necessary. And because we've already made it all the way to Resident Evil 8, where it's about the Megamycete, the Black Mold, and about Eva, Evelyn, and Rose, and Ethan's story, all that stuff. So it's changed a lot, and Capcom has changed that a lot. So that's what I'm thinking where they're heading towards next. I know I'm repeating myself, but I feel like that is what Capcom is taking Resident Evil to. They're taking it to a direction where it's much more supernatural and all that stuff, dark fantasy, I guess. And with the Shadows of Rose DLC, her story and her gameplay, it seems like it's not really Resident Evil style anymore. The style of it and the tone of the game is completely different. Yes, it's connected to the Resident Evil franchise, it's connected to Ethan Winter's story, but it's so different. It doesn't really look and feel like Resident Evil. And something I want to mention is that there's such a big time jump. I believe Rose is 17 or 18 or 19 years old, and we're playing her in Resident Evil. Like we just saw her at the end of Resident Evil 8, at the end of Ethan's story. Like she was just a baby, but now we're playing her, she's all grown up. So that's a really big, huge time jump within the Resident Evil game, and I feel like that could be a little bit of a problem. So it's just like, well, we're just gonna forget about all these characters in Resident Evil. I mean, sure, I guess so. It's time to move on. It's time for a new era. but it's just like they mentioned Chris at the end of Resident Evil 8. Like, you know, they mentioned him when Rose is at the graveyard. They mentioned Chris. So, but then it's just like, will he even be relevant anymore? Because, you know, of how much time has passed. He's older now. If you think about it, like if you look at him in Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8, he looks like he's in his like mid 40s or late 50s. No, I say more like mid 50s or almost 50. Like he looks like he's almost 50. And then now that we had a big old time jump, wouldn't he look like he's in his like 60s already or 70s if there really is a time jump? I don't know, it's weird. Like I said, this whole time jump thing is just so strange to me, and I don't like it, and I feel like it might just have a really poor impact for the Resident Evil. And they really are gonna, it seems like they really are gonna take it to a whole new direction for Resident Evil. I just want to put that in. Now I'm gonna go into the review and what are my thoughts and what I think about Shadows of Rose for the Resident Evil 8 Gold Ethan's Winter's expansion, whatever you want to call it, Rose's story and her gameplay. I don't have much to say about it, but for me it's boring. I don't really like it. It doesn't really feel like Resident Evil to me. When you play it, the game, her story and her gameplay, there's not much to do. You basically most of the time you just run, hide, solve a few puzzles. I mean, that's what you do in a lot of Resident Evil, but this one I feel like you don't do much with her. And I get it, DLCs are not meant to be big, and DLC are not meant to be like a big or full game. They're just more like a side story or side thing. But her gameplay, there's not much to do with her powers. There's not much to do really in her story or in her gameplay. You just use her powers to basically like mainly open doors. Like, oh, you know, there's like these mold or black gooey thing, and then she uses her power to dry that up and, you know, crack it, make those things like dust it, and then you just access through the door or the passage that, you know, is being blocked. Oh, you use her power for that. And you also use her power to freeze the enemies or monsters, whatever they are. That's pretty much about it. There's really nothing special about her gameplay or her power. You don't do much with it. That really is all you do. Freeze enemies and, you know, open up the passage or whatever it is that's blocking your way. You can use her power to like remove those things that are blocking your way, and that's about it. I didn't really like it. It didn't really feel like Resident Evil to me. I just got bored of it and didn't continue it. I don't know if I will finish the game, and yeah, that's about it. Another thing I kind of want to talk about too is I really like the atmosphere and gameplay and the style of Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake. I wish we could get to explore more of Resident Evil's Raccoon City. I think that would be nice if we get to explore more. This is what I've been thinking of feeling since I liked those two so much, Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake. I like the atmosphere, the style, and the gameplay. I would like if Capcom, and it would be nice if Capcom do a remake for Resident Evil Outbreak 1 and 2. Like, they should make Resident Evil Outbreak 1 and 2 remake, because Resident Evil Outbreak 1 and 2 takes place during Resident Evil 2 and 3. It takes place during that time, and you play characters and people within Raccoon City during the outbreak. You know, you're not focusing on the main characters of Resident Evil. You're playing, you know, just normal people who have their own stories, you know, how it is that they got into the city, how it is that they got out. So I really want to explore more of Resident Evil Raccoon City, because I just like, there's just so much to explore, so much more to see, you know. Playing Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake, you know, we only get to see one side, one block, and a small part of the city, you know. We didn't get to see and go much. So I think it would be nice if they do a remake for RE Outbreak, because that would be really fun, and they should make it like a small open world, but not open world, but more like a small open city where, you know, you have a partner with you. The play style will be like Resident Evil 2 Remake, and the graphics should look like that, UI should look like that and feel like that. You know, you get to play multiple characters, because in the original RE Outbreak there are multiple characters you can play, and you can have a partner with you to help you and progress through the game. And there's a lot of content in there, like a ton of content, costumes and weapons, and man, that just seems so fun. And you get to explore Raccoon City more too, back in the original RE Outbreak. So yeah, I think that Capcom should really, you know, bring this back, let us explore more within the Raccoon City. I think that would be so fun. And I like the atmosphere of Resident Evil 2 Remake and 3 Remake more than Resident Evil 7 and 8. And 7 and 8 are completely different, so for me, but I prefer the atmosphere of the Raccoon City. Something that I do want to mention, and I don't know if it's even important or if it matters, but I know we never really got proper closure for, like, you know, Chris, Leon, Jill, and Claire for their story and their arc within the Resident Evil franchise or story universe, whatever you want to call it. But I will like it if we have a little bit more of a proper closure for them. But who knows, you know, they probably gonna make RE5 remake and RE6 remake in the future, possibly. So we'll see what's up with that. But yeah, I really feel like, you know, this probably I think this is pretty much it for all these original Resident Evil characters, and we're probably not gonna see any more like Leon, no more Claire, no more Chris, no more Jill, or Rebecca Chambers, I think that's her name, Rebecca Chambers. All these other characters, you know, Wesker is gone, died in, I believe, RE5 or RE6, whatever. I don't remember, but yeah, that's all I really have to say. I hope you enjoy this. Like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know, what do you think Resident Evil is heading towards? What is it that, you know, you think they're gonna be doing next? Where do you think they're heading for? What is it that they should do and should not do? You know, do you think they should make more story within the Raccoon City for us to explore during the time of RE2 and RE3? Because I think that would be really fun to look out. Yeah, that's it.